You know, it's been a little more than a year. February 5th of last year, you delivered your first public speech on this very stage. And of course, we were very blessed to have you that day because that came on the heels of the American Airlines tragedy just literally days before and just days into your service as secretary. This year has gone by very fast. As they say, the days are long and the time is short. And we really appreciate your leadership and what you've done, especially as it comes to air traffic control safety and focusing on safety even more broadly. I often say that transportation is a journey. And so it's going to be great today if we can reflect a little bit on the journey that you've been on, looking back at the past, talk about some of those achievements, talk about your future goals, and as always, explore how we as state DOTs can work closely with the USDOT to deliver the mission for transportation to Americans, our American people, the public that we serve. So, Mr. Secretary, let me just start with sort of your thoughts regarding your accomplishments over this past year. So maybe some of the things you're most proud of, particularly as safety, we know is always the first thing you talk about, innovation and other strategic directions you see for the nation that's happened over this last year. Just sort of get your feedback and thoughts on that.
Yeah, well, first, thank you all for having me. It's good to be back with you all. I was almost going to cancel last year after we had, because I don't know if you recall this, we had DCA, the horrible air crash here, and then that was on a Wednesday night, and then on Friday we had the airplane crash in Philadelphia. And then the next day, the NOTAM system went down, and then it was like one thing after the other, just a lot of aviation issues. And so but it was good to come and see you all, and I appreciate you let me speak for about 4 minutes, and I got out of here, so I appreciate the graciousness. But it's good to be back. So maybe to take a look back at the year. Whenever we all know this, you come in and you got to build a team, right? And that takes time. And in our department and across government, it takes time for your leadership to get nominated and then Senate confirmed, and the process. So you don't get a start necessarily on day one because you have a team that's not fully built. But maybe looking back, I'm proud that the Congress gave us $12.5 billion to upgrade our air traffic control system. Happy to talk about that ad nauseum if you all want later. A lot going on there. But we've looked at the department, and I think for 40 years, whether someone comes in for 2 years or 4 years, no one's staying 6 years or 8 years. But you just pass off the structure of how the department works from one administration to the next, and the policies might change at the top, but how it operates doesn't change, and it's been that way for 40 years. And so we've been thinking through, how do we make the department work better? How do we make the department work more efficient? How do we restructure the department so we can be more responsive, that we can do things faster and better for the American people? And we're in that process right now, and though everyone may not agree with our priorities of this administration and of this DOT, and they might change with whoever the next president may be, what we're doing is, I think, going to be a pass-off that the next administration will be grateful for. Even if they don't agree with our policies, they'll agree that you've restructured the department, you brought in new technology, and the department runs better, so whatever their priorities are, they'll be able to implement them that much more quickly. But whether we're talking about rail, we're bringing in more technology on rail to drive safety in rail. We canceled the high-speed rail in California. If California is here, I'm sorry, but if we can't build a rail after tracks after 17 years and $15 billion, by the way, I want high-speed rail. I think rail is great. But we've got to build, if we're going to spend the money, we've got to build the project for the people. This is now going to be, what, 135 million, Bakersfield to Merced, not LA to San Francisco. So we're happy about that. We've taken a lot of, I want to build stuff, right? I want you to build stuff. I want us to be as efficient as possible, and I think the cost of things have gotten to be way too much. Yeah. And so rethinking how we're taking away requirements that are not mandated, that are just put on by the department, taking those away and letting you all build faster and more cost effectively I'm proud of that. And again, I think what we do is we affect people's lives in a profound way. If we do our jobs well, they get home 15 minutes or a half an hour early because we've navigated their road trips, or if they're not delayed or canceled in aviation, their lives are better because they get to spend more time with their families and not traveling through our transportation system.
Indeed, and listen, thank you for that focus on, I call it just making it better. How do we make it work better? And re-examining 40 years of how things have operated, as we mentioned backstage, is great relationships with the modal administrators, doing really great work, asking states to step up to do more, and how do we look for those efficiencies? Because again, the public expects us to deliver, right? They don't want to know the problems, they just want to make sure we can deliver. So which brings me to sort of my next question is, I always say the bottom line are results, right? That's what the public expects us to build and create that transportation network and infrastructure that they deserve and not have to be stuck in congestion and not have the ability to get around. So we are judged as states on how we deliver and getting those things done. So could you maybe think about any other of the improvements that you're thinking about as either big or small that's made a difference in the way USDOT works with the states over the past year? So we talked a little bit backstage about the environmental part of that and how that's working, but just sort of those kind of thoughts.
I mean, we wanted to take out the social cost of carbon. And again, it's a requirement that you had, but did it improve your ability to deliver on time and on budget? I don't think that it necessarily did. Not that we shouldn't think about carbon and we shouldn't think about the environment. That's all really great, but I don't think it was helping the deliverable. We took out the requirements on the environment. The Congress didn't put those requirements in. The DOT put those requirements in, so we pulled them back out. The DEI part of it we pulled out, and I think again, I want to allow you maximum flexibility to build as much as possible. And I mean, even with the NEVI program with the chargers, that's something that probably half of you agree with and half of you disagree with, but I was on the side of I disagreed with it. But the Congress gave the money for us to build chargers, right? So I'm going to do what the Congress, I have ultimate respect for the Congress, so we're going to build chargers. But if you have so many rules around how you build the chargers and they don't get built, you got the money, but you don't build chargers because there's so many rules around it. So I'm like, I think if you could take the money back, you should take it back. The Congress didn't take it back, so we're going to build as many chargers as possible because that's the money. If you're going to spend it on chargers, you should actually deliver chargers for the American people. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I've thought about it. How do we restructure what you all do? And I think what's also critical for us is your feedback. We need to hear. Yeah, it's nice to hear like you guys are doing a great job on this or that. That's wonderful. But where there's problems, where you see that we could do things better, you guys are the experts. Let us know where we have problems. Let us know how we can improve. If you have ideas on how we can streamline things, we would welcome that because, again, that is the purpose. It's to build a lot more and a lot faster. If you think back to the stimulus bill, was it $800 billion? We're going to have this massive build in America, and then the AASHTO, we put a lot of money into infrastructure, and I think a lot of Americans look around their country and go, where's the money gone? Like, where's the deliverable? I see we spend a lot, but I don't feel like it's gotten that much better, and I think we have to do a better job of delivering for the American people, and that's all of us, working together to do that.
As you referenced Congress and what was in the last transportation bill, our predominant focus here collectively is focusing on reauthorization, which obviously the IIJA ends in September. And so obviously you've got a great perspective as being a former congressman and now the Secretary of Transportation as we think about the future, the immediate future of reauthorization. So is there principles or policy areas that you would like to see in reauthorization? If you want to just go ahead and tell us what the administration's plan is, listen, nobody put your phones down. We won't post anything on Truth Social or X, okay? But it just on high level, to the extent you can, sort of talk about what you would like to see now that you've had this opportunity to be at the helm for a year, former congressman. And then, how does Congress get this right for the nation? What's your thoughts?
So we sent over, Highways did a great job, Jay Payne, good to see him here. I think the stack of paper we sent over to OMB was just massive of ideas on what we can do to improve this version of surface reauth. We have a top line number. We know that Congress is going to work their will, so I'm not going to tell you what those are. But I think a lot of great ideas. Some you'd love, and some you might be like, maybe there's a little partisanship in there. But again, the concept is, how do we build better? This, personally for me, when our infrastructure is rated at a C grade, and I think about, well, how do we improve that? Well, and what's a federal priority? And again, the Congress can work its will and tell us how we have to spend money. But I do think we should build the big projects. We should build, roads and bridges and freeways and highways, and we want to connect the country. And a lot of times, when we're spending money on sidewalks or bike paths or bike trails, I don't know that that's the federal interest. I think if the community wants to do that, if the state wants to do that, or if at one point we have an A grade in our infrastructure, and we have money left over to say, let's spend it on these other projects, that would be great. But I think we have to be more focused on how we spend our money. And what are the big projects that need to be done? We have a lot of work to do in our bridges. I think that should be the focus, and I hope the Congress. And again, there's going to be focuses in a lot of priorities that will come into the bill, but I think that should be the main focus. I think we need permitting reform, and maybe now more than ever, we have an opportunity for a bipartisan look back at how do we permit, how do we speed this up, and that'll have to be negotiated out, and there's a give and take to make that happen. But no one wants to ruin the environment for the next generation. We don't want that. But should it take as long as it takes to? We're going to build. We know this project's going to be built, but we got to go. We got to go 5 years out to go through this laborious process, and we're spending a lot of money. That's not putting shovels in dirt, but it's actually in consultants and in those who help us go through the permitting. And I think I think that's the biggest thing we could do, because we're going to have more money going to projects. If we get this reform, and we can build faster, and time is money. So I'm not going to tell you more than that one point, but there's a lot of good things I think we've suggested. I do think we're in a tough spot right now. It's going to be hard. The clock is ticking, especially in an election year, but hope springs eternal.
Well, we thank you for that insight. Again, all of us are doing our Hill visits to meet with our congressmen and senators this week, and really trying to reaffirm. One is, again, we need that same level of funding from IIJA at least. The historical cost increases over the last 5 years are just incredible. The National Highway Construction Cost Index, federal highway leads, it's ticked down a little bit in the last year or so. But that inflationary growth is just, the buying power is been consumed, and we're just not doing as much as we can. But to your point, if there's efficiency in delivery, then you can push those dollars to work sooner, and you get a better return on that dollar than delay and delay and delay. So thank you for sharing that, Mr. Secretary. You have been laser.
Can I throw one more thing before you kick me off stage?
Yeah. No. I'm not.
He's being respectful of my time.
You're here all day, sir.
No, I'm just going to cross my legs and drink my coffee. We're just getting started. I think as we look at again what we're doing and what the Congress is going to do, and I had a really good idea that I was going to jump in as you were telling me something, and then I crossed my legs and I forgot what I was going to tell you.
High cost, the inflationary cost over the last 5 years of construction. Just set about the data point's about 60 to 70% increase over the last 5 years of construction commodity prices. So that buying power, that dollar from 5 years ago, is just not what it is today, which puts strain on all of us to deliver. And so that's why states and AASHTO, we're advocating to Congress, look, we've got to keep the top line. which is going to be hard to do. I mean, as again, for the many things you said, for this timing with this Congress and where we are, but that's going to be very important, again, that we're not retreating, but if there's less money, how do we make it more efficient to deliver? And then that has a better return.
Can I make a pitch to you guys? You guys all have seen what's happened in trucking, right? And you can have a debate about immigration, and like that's a separate conversation. And I think sometimes we get wrapped around the axle of broader political debates. But when we have individuals who've come across our border, and they go to states, and we have schools that were self-certifying that they're well qualified to train drivers, and basically there's no training that's happening. There's no knowledge curriculum. There's no trucks to train people how to drive, but they're just paying money and they're signing off the to the school. And then you have, some states do it well with the third-party testers, but other states they're not overseeing their third-party testers. So you have this scam of a system where we're then having individuals get driver's licenses and hitting American roads, and they're hurting people. Like that's what's happening. And regardless of the immigration debate, we want well-trained, skilled people behind an 80,000-pound 18-wheeler driving down the road. That's what we want. And you might have heard of us talk about the English proficiency requirements. We didn't create that rule. That rule has been there for decades. We're starting to enforce it because there's a safety component to it. I would ask you all, as you go back to your states, and I don't want to be in a political fight with anybody, but this is a place where we should all work together, because it's our families, our friends, our communities that are on the roads that are getting hurt by people who have gotten driver's licenses through a system that's not working. And we're doing our part at FMCSA, but we don't have all the authority. The states have a lot of authority, and if you would help us as you go back home, that would be incredibly helpful, because these good procedures in place will help us, I think, save lives. And I think what you see is no one's paid attention for decades on what rules do we have in place, how are rules being enforced. And when we don't pay attention, you see this rot happen, and you see then bad things happen. And so we're trying to address those problems in a way that is going to make, again, people safer. And again, it's not all of you, I know, but it's happening with your states. Even with transit, like I believe in transit. Like transit's great. DC doesn't. I'm a Republican too, and my Republican colleagues don't like transit, but transit, DC doesn't work. New York doesn't work. Chicago doesn't work. Atlanta. I mean, a lot of our big cities don't work without transit. But why can't we have a transit system where it's safe? Like, there shouldn't be homeless shelters. Like, we should deal with the homeless in one way, but our train stations, our subway stations shouldn't be homeless shelters. I just think we're giving money to let people travel on these systems. We fund them. They should be, my daughter in New York, who's 14 years old, should be able to take the train at 7 o'clock at night. She should be able to do that. And they should be clean. Like, we should have a higher standard of, like, how are we doing this? And that way, that's just good politics. That's not Republican or Democrat. Safety is, like, bipartisan. Roads and bridges and safe airplanes and safe, like, it's all bipartisan stuff. And I think we have to do a better job of, in our space, which is, by the way, one of the coolest, nonpartisan spaces in government, because its infrastructure is American. It's not a political conversation. But if we do a better job saying, hey, take the political fights over here, but we all stand together as Democrats and Republicans to drive more projects, to drive more safety, and make things more efficient. I think the American people will celebrate us a lot more because we're giving back to them. I think we'll all feel better about how we've done our job. So that's kind of my philosophy and some of the things we've been working on. I see Jonathan here with Nitsa, what they've done on CAFE, making sure that we have car companies that can build cars that people want to buy, not having a 60-mile-an-hour gallon requirement in vehicles that can only be met with an an electric vehicle. Letting us build cars that are more efficient, but also cars that you want to buy and the standards that we can meet. So we're just trying to bring common sense. I'm really riffing on you here, and I'm 7 minutes over. But we're trying to bring a little more common sense back. My last pitch to you all is, please, feedback, good, bad, or ugly. We appreciate that. That's the only way. And you all the same way. When people give you feedback on how you're doing and being really honest, honesty matters for all of us to do a better job. And even I do like 4 last things. This is truly my last thing.
All right, that's okay.
I think honesty matters, and sometimes there's projects that are sent to us, and there's this dance that happens, and like, are we going to do it? I think us being honest to say, hey, this is the problem with your grant request. This is the problem with your project. Let you know what our problem is or why it might not get funded, and then if you can resolve the issues that we have, you at least know what we're thinking. Like, instead of like not like why wasn't this approved, and someone else's project was approved. Like, being forthright, I think, matters, and we're trying to do a better job of giving you feedback on what we're thinking about on the requests that you all put in, and I think that'll help you guys do a better job, but also help us, get to the best projects possible for us to fund and invest in. So that's 4 last things, but thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I always have like 10 number 1 things, so it's okay. We can have 4 last things. Mr. Secretary, you've been very generous with your time. Today is a very long day, I know, for you. We want to just, again, from AASHTO and the states, know that you have strong partners here. It's up to us from a federal-state relationship to deliver for the American people, and we're going to be shoulder to shoulder with you and do all we can to help drive America forward, get America building again, and get people moving in safe, clean transportation infrastructure across this nation. So thank you for your generosity of your time today.
Thank you.
And just know that you've got 50 states plus Puerto Rico and D.C. here to join in and support your efforts as you lead these next 3 years for USDOT. Thank you so much, sir.
I appreciate it.